Hey guys, how's it going? So UFC 315 just wrapped up and I'm going to run through the card and give you guys my future matchups for the winners and losers of this card. So let's just jump straight into it. And starting off, we'll start with Mike Malott, the winner of the final prelim. Got a very nasty finish over Charles Radke. He knocked him out and then followed up with vicious ground and pound that put him out very cold. Very good performance. He looked in control the whole fight and he definitely deserves to fight up after that performance. He's currently sitting outside the top 15, probably just scraping through. So I think his next fight should definitely be for a top 15th spot. Number 15th ranked currently, Michael Venom Page. I don't like the idea of too much. Venom Page beat Shara in a very big upset at a higher weight class. So I definitely think he should be fighting up a bit. Just out of respect for him. So next up is Vicente Luque, currently booked against Kevin Holland, but I do think a perfect matchup for Malott would be the loser of that fight, who I think is going to be Kevin Holland, so I'm going to put him on screen, but it could also be Luque. But I think this is the perfect matchup. Either fighter is a manageable challenge for Malott, and I think it's a very good way for him to get into the top 15. And they're both very good at keeping people out of the top 15. They're kind of gatekeepers in themselves, especially Holland. So yeah, I think that's the next fight to make to give Malott a top 15 spot, and we'll jump to the next fight. Next up, we have the winner of the first fight on the main card, Benoit Saint-Denis. So, very impressive performance. He looked very good out there. Granted, it was against an opponent that was a lot easier than his initial opponent and was stepping up on late notice. So there is that caveat. Originally, I was going to suggest rebook the fight with Yoel Alvarez, but I don't think he is coming back down to lightweight. I think he's going to stick to welterweight from now on, or at least that's the vibe he's giving off. So that's out of the question. So next up, I think is the best second option would be the loser of Rafael Fiziev versus Ignacio Bahamondes. This one's happening at Baku pretty soon, and I think the loser, whoever it is of this, I think Fiziev, but we'll have to see, will be skilled enough to sort of check these bad habits of Benoit Saint-Denis and really see where he belongs in these rankings. It'll be a very big step up challenge-wise for BSD, but I think it is manageable. And yeah, I just like the idea of him fighting around that 10th to 11th range. So yeah, book that one next, I think. Now next up, I'm just going to skip Natalia Silva, and you'll see why in a second, or you can probably just guess, and jump straight to Alexa Grasso. Now, Grasso didn't look amazing that fight. She got 30-27 in a way that I don't think I've ever seen Grasso get dominated like that. It probably screamed more to the skill of Natalia Silva than it did to sort of any lack of skill from Grasso. And Grasso had her moments that fight, but overall she really let herself slip in that one. So I think she should be fighting down. There is a future matchup happening in 2-ish weeks, and that one is Macy Barber versus Erin Blanchfield. I think the loser of that should fight Grasso. Because Grasso needs to fight down, needs a bit of an easier challenge to really see where she belongs in this division after two pretty unimpressive performances. And I think the loser of Erin Blanchfield versus Macy Barber is still a good challenge. They're both very, very good fighters, and whoever wins that one, I think, is going to have to fight up a bit more than Grasso. So I think Grasso should fight the loser. I think it will probably be Erin Blanchfield, but I don't know. But either way, it will be a very tough challenge for Grasso, while also being something that she can kind of rebound off of. So yeah, I say book that one next. On to the next fight. Next up, we have Jose Aldo. Lost his fight. Looked decent, but just really didn't look like the old Jose Aldo we used to see. And he did say he was going to retire, but there was a weird choice of wording. He said he may retire. This might be the last time for him. He didn't really clarify 100% whether he was retiring or not. Obviously I want him to retire. I think anything from here would sort of tarnish the legacy. But if he really wants to come back and fight someone, I think a pretty fun fight would be Vinicius Oliveira. That's just me throwing out something that probably won't happen, but he did say may retire, so you know, there is always that chance. But ideally he retires, and I think he will stay retired. So next fight to the winner, Aiemann Zahabi. He looked very good, regardless of, you know, what version of Aldo you thought he fought. If you thought Aldo's washed, or, you know, Aldo's just too old, he did put on a good performance regardless, and he almost finished Aldo in the third, which, I mean, no one's really gotten close to doing within the past couple of bantamweight fights with Aldo. So he definitely should be fighting up. I think the jump to 11th is somewhat deserved. Maybe a bit lower would have been nicer, but I guess he did beat Aldo, who was ranked 11th. So realistically, we're looking at somewhere around 9th or 8th or 10th. And I think Henry Cejudo is a perfect matchup for him. Henry, I think he said he wants one last fight within the UFC. He's currently on a 2-fight losing streak, one to Marab and then another one to Song Yadong, which was a weird sort of thing. But regardless, he lost that one as well. Lost a lot of respect from the community off that. So I think if he comes down and fights an Aiemann Zahabi, someone who he can beat, he's a new person in that division, and I think Henry Cejudo could potentially use his experience to sort of show the levels. And it would be a good final challenge for him, I think. So I say run that one up. If not, maybe a Rob Font, but I like the idea of Cejudo fighting someone around 11th ranked as well. So I say that's the next fight for him. Now we move on to the co-main event, and we'll start with the loser. Manon Fiorot put up a decently good fight with Valentina Shevchenko, who is very, very dominant. If it wasn't for the Alexa Grasso loss, I think she would have just been one of the most dominant champs in history. She's currently number 1 pound for pound in the women's league, and she put up her own decently to the point where people say she got robbed in this fight. I kind of agree, but not really. But either way, she should be fighting down because she lost this one. And I think a perfect opponent is someone who fought earlier on this card, Jasmine Jasudavicius. Jasudavicius made light work of Andrade within the first couple of minutes of the first round. No one's ever really made Andrade look like that, and Jasudavicius is on her own tear at the moment. She just sort of runs through opponents like they're nothing. So I think she does deserve a nice little jump up when it comes to her next opponent. And I think Fiorot is a good matchup. I think they're going to try and push Jasudavicius into title picture very, very soon. And Fiorot's a one-way trip there. So I'd like this one. I think it's a good chance for Fiorot to rebound as well if she can sort of derail the hype train of Jasudavicius. And realistically, there's not really many other matchups you can make. You could say maybe the winner of Blanchfield Barber, but I think that's probably the next title contender. So yeah, next up to the winner, Valentina Shevchenko. Had a lot more dominant performance, I think, than the Alexa Grasso fight. A lot of people were saying the Alexa Grasso fight was one of her worst showings. This one was a bit better. Still got very, very close though, and she did look kind of beatable. And this is where I want to bring in, who I skipped before, Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva made Alexa Grasso look like what people thought Shevchenko would do to her. She had a way more dominant performance over Grasso than Shevchenko, and it really made me question, if she did that to Grasso for 3 whole rounds, 30-27, didn't even have a moment of weakness, what would she do to Shevchenko? And that's what I want to figure out. I think she definitely won a title shot off of her performance. No one's really done that to Grasso at all. No one's really 30-27'd her in the fashion that she just did. And she's really, really good. She's undefeated within the UFC at least. And she just, all of her fights, there's been a few where it's gone close, but she dominates every one of her opponents. And after this, I think the storyline's there. I think it all lines up. Next contender could be Barber versus Blanchfield. I doubt it though, so I say give Natalia Silva the shot, and I actually think this is a winnable challenge for her where she might even come out as the favourite. And it will also be a way for Valentina Shevchenko to get a lot of the respect back if she can take out this very dangerous striker in Silva. So yeah, I think this is next move for the Flyweight Championship. And now we'll move on to the main event. And now the loser of the main event, separated from the belt, Belal Muhammad. And this wasn't like a split decision or a fight where he was winning all the rounds and then got knocked out unluckily. This was a complete beatdown on Muhammad. Doesn't really deserve a title shot, like a bounce back title shot after that. And currently the welterweight division is in a bit of trouble, especially with what the main event will probably be next for Jack Della, but we'll get into that. Currently Sean Brady ranked number 2. I don't like the idea of Sean Brady rematching Belal Muhammad. I think that's just bad for both their careers. And realistically, a lot of people in welterweight are calling for a title shot. Ian Gary's calling for a title shot. Joaquin Buckley's calling for a title shot. Usman probably wants one as well. Sean Brady wants one. Rakhmonov realistically deserves one. There's so many people that think that they're next for the belt that it makes it really hard to see who the ex-champ should fight. Realistically, I want to see Ian Gary versus Joaquin Buckley if Joaquin wins against Kamaru Usman, and if he doesn't, I want to see Ian Gary versus Kamaru Usman. So I think all three of those people are very much out of this Belal fight, which really just leaves Shavkat Rakhmonov or Sean Brady, and I really want to see Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Belal. There was a lot of hype behind it for the 310 main event that didn't end up happening, and I would really love to see them run it back. That was a very interesting fight to me. Stylistic wise, it's very hard to pick for because you can't really tell who is a better wrestler and striker because they're both very, very versatile people. Outside of that, maybe do the winner of Buckley Kamaru versus Belal, but the current contender situation makes it a bit tougher, and I do think that Shavkat does need one more win before he can fight for the belt again with how long he's going to be off with injuries. So I say run up Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. And the winner, Jack Della Maddalena, now the welterweight champion of the world, separated Belal Muhammad from his belt in a complete beatdown. What an absolute showing. He put on an incredible performance, borderline perfect performance for a Belal fight, where his takedown defense was on point. When he would get taken down, he'd sprawl out and roll, get out of bottom position. He deconstructed Belal Muhammad and beat him via decision in an area that Belal Muhammad usually dominates when it comes to. And I think we all know the next fight. It's been very heavily hinted at, borderline just announced, but the UFC hasn't made it official yet. We all know it's going to be Islam Makhachev. Nothing's been confirmed, so there could be a late minute switch up and maybe they will run the Islam versus Ilya mega fight. But I think that more likely it's going to be Charles Ilya at International Fight Week, and then Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena in September in Perth. There's been rumours that the UFC is going to come back to Perth for a pay-per-view in September, and now that JDM's the champion, it makes complete sense. Having this as a main event would sell crazy. Having a stacked co-main, maybe a Volk Evloev as well, that would be a mega card. That would be an amazing card. And I think they're not going to pass up that opportunity, especially having Volk and Islam on the same card as well, potentially. And even just a storyline of the Australian fighter coming back to Perth and avenging Volk's loss, which was also in Perth. I think it just makes too much sense at the moment to not do. Islam's been talking about wanting to go up to welterweight and become a double champ for so long now, and now he might actually have the chance to do it. So I just think that's pretty much what's going to happen. There could be, you know, Sean Brady that gets a shot next. I doubt it, but it could happen. But yeah, I think we all know what's going to happen next for this one. And that's it. Those are all my future matchups for the winners and losers of UFC 315. On screen now is just a compilation of all my future matchups all in one place. What do you guys think of them? Do you like them? Do you not? Leave a comment if you have any alternate ones. I'm very interested to see, especially with the welterweight division, what you guys think should be next. And yeah, great card this one, amazing, lots of finishes, and man, Perth back on the map. Let's go!